Africa Day 2021, Women in Pan-Africanism, Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow. Let's begin with women in Pan-Africanism of yesterday. Starting in the land of Kush. Queen Candace of 332 BC. Queen Candace of 332 BC denied Alexander the Great entry into Kush and deterred him on one of his military campaigns. She met him atop 2 elephants. She was able to thwart the Roman conquest of Kush using brilliant battle tactics. Next, from the country of Angola. Queen Nzinga Mandi, 1583 to 1663. Queen Nzinga was a key figure in the history of African resistance to colonialism. She fought against the Portuguese expanding the slave trade in Central Africa. Nzinga was sent to negotiate a peace treaty with the Portuguese. The commander sat in a chair and gave her a mat to sit on. Her maid immediately crouched on all fours on the carpet. She later became queen. She resisted Portuguese invasions and slave raids for 30 years. Ethiopia. At the Berlin Conference, 1884 to 1885, European colonial powers agreed that Italy could take over Ethiopia as its future colony. However, there was one obstacle: Empress Tetu Betu. She was a fearless strategist and brilliant administrator. She led 6,000 cavalries to the war front. The Battle of Adwa, the battle that shook Africa. The Ethiopians surrounded the Italians for 2 weeks. The Italian commander agreed to surrender if they would be allowed to leave with their firearms. King Menelik agreed that they could leave the garrison unharmed. The defeat of Italy reverberated around the globe. The green, yellow, and red colors of the Ethiopian flag was adopted by several African countries after colonial liberation. Ethiopia, along with Liberia, was never colonized. From the country of Jamaica, Amy Jacques Garvey, 1896 to 1973.
When you hear that Jamaica, independent Jamaica, has a black prime minister, you say, well, those people are in power. That's black power. But that's baloney. That is hogwash. That's a damn lie.
She worked as the editor of Garvey's newspaper, The Negro World, in which she also had her own column entitled Our Women and What They Think. Jacques also published 2 volumes of his speeches, The Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey.
We were the generation that engaged the enemy.
Winnie Madikizela Mandela, 1936 to 2018.
We are here today to tell you that that day is not far when we shall lead you to freedom. Amandla!
I could never fully understand how human beings could oppress one another to that extent because of the color of your skin. Every time there's an incident of racism, of course you remember. You remember where you come from and you remember the battles you have fought. When I was in prison, the very first time when I was in solitary confinement, you are interrogated for 7 nights and 7 days without any sleep, and God provided a mechanism I had never thought of at the time. I reached a point, I think a threshold, where the body could not take the pain anymore, and then I would faint. the enemy as much as they oppressed me. I decided I will fight them to the last drop of my blood, and I will show them that women are going to bring about change in South Africa. And we did.
Pan-Africanism today and tomorrow. From Tunisia.
Hello African youth, this is Aya Shebi. I am the African Union Youth Envoy, and I want to wish you a happy Africa Liberation Day. Pan-Africanism is about equality, dignity, and respect for all Africans. And today is a moment of reflection about our political, economic, geographical, and spiritual aspirations. The challenge of our generation remains economic independence and ownership. Owning our resources, owning the means of production, owning the technology we are using, decolonizing our knowledge, really being the owners and drivers of our destiny and our continent. Today is also about honoring the contribution of women who fought side by side with men in the liberation movement.
From the country of Zimbabwe. Dr. Erakana Chihambori Kwao, 1956.
It was all by design. 1884. They did something else in addition to chopping us up. They also set out to make the African believe that everything African was bad and undesirable, and everything Western, particularly French and British, was more desirable. We call that the legacy of colonization. Prior to that, they had started long working on the slaves. Make them think everything about them, forget anything about Africa. Where you come from is a horrible place, diseased and dying people, constantly at war with themselves, uncivilized. Cut out any communications with them. You need to just know what we tell you. And we call that the legacy of slavery. So that's where you look at where we are today. 135 years later, a system that was put in place to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated, that Africa is forever exploited, remains in place today, alive and well. As individual little African countries, we are wannabe boxers. We will never make it fighting against the heavyweights. We must speak with one voice. Yeah. And this is exactly what our Pan-African leaders wanted to see happen in 1963 when they came together in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. They clearly stated that Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and that African Union was now. They said Africa must speak with one voice. It is the only way for Africa to take its rightful place on the world stage. Sadly, when they went to Addis Ababa in 1963, they were divided. We had two factions, the Casablanca group and the Monrovia group. The Casablanca group were saying Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and African Union now. This was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Only 7. The other 25 of the 32 who attended were the Monrovia group. They were the nationalists. They said, let's go slow. Let's kind of wait on this Pan-African thing. 55 years later, 56 this year, we're still going slow. Why isn't Africa moving forward? Why does Africa continue to be taken advantage of? Well, I'll tell you why, very simply. Until Africa comes together as a continent speaking with one voice, one continent, one people, nothing, and I repeat, nothing is gonna change.
Africa. Many years ago, we were filled with hope. Our leaders fought for our rights. Nelson Mandela suffered for Africa. Robert Sobukwe fought for our rights.